trying to remember exactly.
Well, I remember there was, for instance, I don't want to do that, but I did. There was less of an entrance in here. Of course, this was here, and this has gotten much more articulate than what it was, which I need to know about, but this was coming up and went down, and then we suggested that it didn't happen of the ordinary coming over. That was one thing. And we suggested that the back court, the corner court, which still is not, got a little larger.
Yeah, it's more open. It's just, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So, to make this entrance bigger, and, I was imagining the floats coming out of here, I just moved the main volume of this back. Well, I think I just made it shorter. It was pretty long before. So, and then this volume sort of goes from here to there, and ends there, and then that volume starts. So this is sort of the artists' rooms and centers. And this one is basically one floor, and this one will be 3 floors. And so the bottom floor for both of them is going to be like the bigger rooms, like a big wood shop or a metal shop or something that'll be more directly connected to in here. And then as you go up, you get more smaller spaces for more individual work. And then as far as sort of this axis goes,
I'll let that fall.
Yeah. I tried to figure out the stairs. They're still kind of iffy, but I thought it would be interesting. This piece, first of all, it's actually a step lower than the first step, but it's on the sidewalk end. So instead of concrete, you'll be able to start walking on the stone over here. I'm imagining this to be stone, and so you'll kind of be walking on it without even realizing it, and then you'll be brought into it. And I was imagining little platforms, maybe little pools of water, so people are sitting around here, and it's kind of a nice meeting place. And then it leads you up to this plane, this floor, which starts becoming interior around here, wherever the roof kind of lands. And it's sort of the tourist information area. And underneath here, I was thinking this should be some sort of supply store place, because obviously they're going to need lots of supplies, so I thought that'd be a good place for that to go. And then from here, they can come up to this. This is a roof deck. This actually is just holding it up. Somehow, this will be held up like this.
You go under.
Yeah. So you can walk all the way across here, and there'll be food up here and everything. And then you can, I'm thinking of maybe a little bridge or something to get into here. And this I was thinking would be some sort of a theater, like a movie theater, or...
This block?
Yeah. It's actually pretty tall, so I think you'd have room for like a bigger theater and then like a small lecture hall or something. So you could show, I don't know, Italian classics or something, I don't know. And then as far as this plane, you can get onto it from in here. So I'm not quite sure if these two will be connected, so you can go from here to here. You'll definitely be able to come out on both of those. And then the way...
Let's put this back so that, because I can... Yep, go on.
And then the way these spaces here work, this one is kind of nice. You can enter it right from the street in here. And there'll probably be an entrance to the movie theater back here, so you can watch the movie, come out here and rest. Whatever I do with the water will sort of happen again here. And then this space, it's actually pretty open. It's all this is just this building ends here, so it's all that. I just gave it a little bit of a roof, so it's more of a the personal space for the artists, which is then very much connected to here. But this will sort of be at the evening. It'll be full of people coming to the movie, coming to eat up here, and then you can go back there and it'll be more quiet. And as far as the roof is going, I'm sort of imagining, you can kind of see it, but just a bunch of planes kind of connecting or intersecting. I'm going to put pieces on here. See better, so you have this one plane here and another one. They sort of build down. I didn't want anything curved or anything, so I'm trying to keep the planes and keep varying the levels. Obviously, it's not very defined yet.
No,
and then,
I can understand.
Right, and so then the columns will help sort of define the interior spaces better.
Couple questions. Do I come across the street here and down?
No, I hadn't. It doesn't completely reach across the street, so I didn't have
Okay.
that as.
But it's a platform that comes
It's a
out.
platform, yeah, you can come out on it.
And of course I can go under it.
Right, right.
But I want to review a little bit. Part of this project is building nature in the city.
Right.
How are you doing that?
Yeah. So I feel that the sort of the outdoor areas of this will all have elements of, well, this is all stone, first of all, so that's sort of the ground element. And then I want to incorporate some sort of pools of water, things like that into here that I haven't figured out very much.
Okay.
And then also this structure, I'm kind of thinking it should be wood because, you know, not only is it more sort of organic, but the floats that are being built are probably out of wood, so they kind of relate a little bit. So I think through the materials and kind of the colors that I'm going to try to use, you know, stone, wood, water. There won't be, you know, big massive trees and stuff, but it'll be more just through the materials.
All right. Again, I think everybody is settling into a general organization, which is good, and particularly the change of this and also the use of this, which is kind of a perfect use in a way related to this of the theater, because then in terms of the elevation I can do something related to that. So
Right.
the ordinary is moving into this extremely extraordinary thing that you have. 3 issues at least. The first is that you gave a big clue when you said you're going to make this in the street a different paving. What I think should happen, picking up on what you just said, is that what I call the building of the mind, meaning that the building starts long before I get there, that this triangular condition might actually stretch down the street even farther than what you have, and be exactly as, I can't do it with this, but be exactly what you said. But down in here, I start to realize that I'm in a territory which is part of this building and is not part of something else. But just a slight change, that perhaps that starts to elevate just slightly. So I'm starting to move up. So when I get to here, I'm almost, as I have it here, at the same level where there's going to be a wall here, obviously.
Right.
The reason I say that is that, and the reason I asked you the question about nature, is that there could be the beginning of some kind of continuous natural experience, which could be trees or water. For instance, water could be moving down through this along the way, and maybe there's a pool. I know we're in the street, but still, it could be, the street's over here, so there might be enough room to do it. So that the water is the thing that ties it together in this case, and the trees are the thing that ties it together. So I'm moving up.
Right.
Now, the places that I have problems with that, if that's the case, and I think that's what you're trying to do, and that's what you sort of told me, is that it seems very, very gentle and just the right change of elevation in here, and maybe over here. But here it's very abrupt. And there may be a way that you can make that transition from this vertical, horizontal to this one in a vertical way. Not like this, of course, but a little less abrupt so that I can move up more slowly.
Right.
If that's the case, then conceptually what you've always talked about is relating to the street this way and relating it this way. Then there's a crossing of the two. And just as you've shown on your model, one's gray and one's copper. We would recognize it as that crossing, whereas that's why I ask you, this one might be a cross, overpass with a spiral stair or a stair that I can get over and up through. And it's different than this one, but the two are crossing each one. One is natural, one is more urban. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you solved a problem, I think, from last time in terms of the entrance, and in the process created a problem, and I'll explain why. You've got a very nice entrance in the sense of space, Huh?
A big cantilever.
Well, you do, but assuming that you can deal with that. No, I'm more concerned about it being very dark.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Let me talk. These, I was actually imagining translucent materials so that you can see people working, etc., which would also help with the light, so they wouldn't be these dark cardboard.
But down, that's only on the lower level, though.
No, sort of the whole volume almost. I mean, I'm just picturing this translucent completely, like these volumes. And then, so I don't know if that helps.
Well, it does, but what I'm trying to get is some light down into this somehow, where this may become slightly smaller here so that there's a vertical shaft of light that's anchoring the space at the place where you need it the most, which is the corner.
Right.
So that when I'm here, like a moth towards a light bulb, I'm drawn towards the light to there. And then once I'm there, I'm drawn into there.
Right, I guess I was going directly. Like I was just picturing.
Yeah, well, which is good, and that's a secondary part of it. But I'm talking about just, I'm not so sure, in spite of everything you said, but I'm still a little concerned that the space is pretty good size without light coming from above.
Right.
So that's, but I don't think that's a major change. I think that's a slight change in the organization, and I think it's in that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's space between this plane and that building.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, and even better, because then the light would come down and wash that wall.
Right.
So you get light down into the space and it's washing the wall at the same time, which is would be the best, because when I'm out here, then I see that daylight hitting the side of the wall coming down. Okay, now the biggie. Ready?
Yeah.
The way you explained this, and the way these guys are sitting here, and I know they're just taped up and all that, which are quite beautiful. But the immediate reaction that I have to it, which I want you to just consider, there is a configuration underneath this of geometric forms which are producing the spaces, all things we've talked about. In reality, what you've done is you've put like leaves on top of this to cover it. And you talked about, I probably can't do it, different heights of these.
Yeah.
Okay? But unfortunately, it's a bit like a crossword puzzle here. This one should go under that one probably in order to make it work. Can I do that? No, I can't. No, I can't. I'm going to. Can I take this off? Okay. So these are like petals. If this, and you want to cover these. And glass, but they're different levels. Just for the moment, imagine there's no columns. Instead, there's tension going up onto the wall. So this part of the building, which is what I would call skyform, is in fact separated to a certain extent from this. And it's acting like a tent-like covering. Therefore, no columns going down, and therefore, where this is meeting the other is a glass partition, obviously, but it's free to meet. So, well, underneath, this is a space, obviously. So, the line of the wall might, say, coming up against this form underneath, hit here. Then it might zig back and hit this one, and zig back and hit that one, zig back and hit this one.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the walls, which are glass, I think I would assume you meant, are transparent, and it's being held up with cables, which it can be done. And at night, this is like a little, and this might be copper roofs, I don't know what it is, it's light metal maybe, or glass. Or maybe it doesn't have to be glass, maybe it's just the light coming through it. Is at night I see this glow underneath of these forms coming off this building. And therefore, I don't have a forest of columns coming down through.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about how.
Well, the point is that you see there's two, I think there are two structures here. I think there's this,
Yeah.
and then there's this. And so by not having columns, I don't have to try to get those columns down through that.
Right.
And I know that David can help you on this, but I know that we can do that architecturally. We can hang these guys. And by the way, it might look very beautiful if I saw a bunch of cables coming across with the roofs on top. Now, does that?
Yeah, I like that.
Does that?
Because I, just imagine just like sort of floating.
Yeah.
planes and stuff.
Well, I think that's what you imagine them as floating.
Yeah.
But if they got columns on them, they're not exactly floating. It's still okay, but it's not quite the same.
Okay.
So think about that one before you do it. But it might make your idea even stronger.
Yeah, I like it.
We got a troublesome spot here that
Yeah.
I think you can solve.
Yeah, I think the opening of that right there might help.
And by the way, if that's up there, then I have more to. I can play more with them. I think the land form needs to be more articulate.
In terms of your getting.
Yeah, getting up through, and the copper copper passageway.
Yeah.
For instance, this might come down. It might be narrower and narrower, and then it comes down to the other side of the street, which would be about there.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, there's a wall. I'm saying somewhere in here you start up, but there's also a wall in here.
Yeah.
But it may not be as high as that, of course.
Right.
So what it is that I'm moving down the street and I'm slowly making a transition from the street into this world of yours, and I may not even know I do it.
Yeah, I wanted them to be like, oh wait, I didn't want to be on the steps.
Right, but then all of a sudden I find this incredible thing. They're working and they're building this unbelievable float that I can see. So what you need to do now is to, beyond what I just said, is also start to make some articulation of what the materials are, or at least not materials at this stage, but at least opaque, transparent, translucent.
Right, yeah, not this.
By the way, this is open, is it not?
Yeah.
Which I think it should be. Yeah, it's outdoor. It's not heated.
Right, exactly.
I think it's neat, and I think it's interesting because it has a relationship to your previous projects, and in a strange way, it's the billboard on its side. It's the sails floating, and it's kind of like it's a summary of both projects that you've done.
Okay.
So go to it.
I guess I started from the plan and tried to use the existing lines to create the shapes for the planes of my different floors. And so a lot of them came out of being like perpendicular from the building or parallel to, or perpendicular or parallel to the street. And then from there I just like kind of cut them and kept trying to figure out what shapes would work with the program and circulation and compositionally, I guess. And this is like came up with, so I was kind of imagining like the bottom floor to be where like the restaurant is, and there's like there's access from the back also, so you can go directly from the bottom. And also it's the ambiguous, is it the skate park or is it for the function of the building, and then it's kind of hard to see with it like this,
No, but I can see it. Don't take it apart.
okay. But it uses transition space still also from the two spaces. And then I focused on I figured a lot of people spend a lot of time, like I wanted to integrate the skating aspect and the rock climbing aspect more, because the way I had it before was kind of just like skating on or below the grade, and then the building was rock climbing. So I wanted to bring in more of the skating into it. So I had a half pipe in there, which I figured a lot of people spend a lot of time in. It's more stationary of a skating area since you're staying within it. And then the part where you come up is kind of has a relationship to this part down here where the largest rock climbing center wall is, where people would be standing here to belay the people climbing. So you have like the rock climbers and skaters being able to see more of what's going on between the two activities. And then I also had mentioned in the pin-up for the posters that I had wanted an area where people could learn how to rock climb.
Oh,
so I see like this center being like, so the wall extends all the way through, but it'll be a smaller wall for lessons and stuff, but you could also see the main wall. So I guess everything kind of ended up being like focused around being able to always have a view of these two activities, but being as open to the outside as possible also. And I haven't done I'm working on seeing what full walls I want, and so I started doing like the railings so I could put in the main wall to start to have the outer structure take form. Like right now I see it as being, because I wanted to have a lot of faces to it, kind of like how I talked about in my presentation, as having the skate area suggest the pools in the water and fluidity, and then the building more of like a mass. So kind of like how rocks are. I wanted to have like a lot of faces, each face like having different material maybe according to what I see it need. And so I think like these different edges will provide that and have sunlight coming in and out. I'm just not sure how exactly I'm going to do it, like if I'm going to have this be inside to outside structure, or have it like have it inside, or like I did have these kind of stuff on here as like the different areas that I might have, like have this be one indoor section and then like this another and then this another, so they'd be at different levels, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'm not sure about like if I want to have, and then like I wanted to bring in as much light as possible, of course, so those are all the different factors I'm trying to consider when I do the walls and the roof, I guess.
And this is outside, and of course this one is outside, but most likely this is outside too, most likely, or not?
Most likely inside right now.
So I'm inside and then I go outside here. So.
Yeah, there'd be a door right here.
Okay. Okay, and then inside, I think I see it, but there's a set of steps that kind of take me from here to here, and then from there to there.
Yeah.
Basically, there's only really 3 levels in it. There's one below it, but there's 3 levels. Getting up through. Where do I don't know this building. I have never been here before. How do I know where to come in?
Well, I was gonna have this area be solid like how that one is, or less transparent, so you can also
right here.
climb on it, yeah. And then this would be very, and it kind of like had it tilted, slanted this way. So because most of the traffic's coming this way, so you will be able to see like steps and the clear, like maybe automatic doors. And then I was hoping that this would catch people's attention, being able to see this inside the building and wanting to go look at it. And then like the pattern on the floor following it out over here, and I saw kind of like a reception place here and then the food place. So from that angle I kind of see it like that. And hopefully like from any of the angles you see the steps coming out.
Okay, I got it. First of all, it's a great jump from a Tuesday, and making it smaller by that factor, but bigger than this one, is just, to me, about the right size for the right side. The other thing that you had, but we didn't see it entirely, which I think is really powerful here, is this bridge or this lookout acting as kind of a continuity around the building, and even to the point where if we could see another one of these someplace over here, if that were possible, so that these being outside, I go into the building, I come out, and I see different views. This one was the viewing platform from way back, but maybe there's another one over there, or maybe there's one even from the second floor. But that's all, to me, that's very strong, this part. The other part that's strong is the landscape that's being created because of this, which is beautiful. Underneath this is terrific. And here, and the copper tube, I think, is great, because you'd be standing here and you wouldn't know what would be coming in or out. Somebody would come through.
Just hear the noise.
You'd hear the noise, and then wow, they come through, which would be, I think, very powerful. So it seems to me that the landscape issue of this and the building are integrated very well, and by the way, much better than it was the other day when you were talking with curves. So it's the wrong way to go, I think. A couple of things that I see that just bring to your attention. I am still somewhat bothered by the notion that the little kids are over here hanging out at the very edge of the site, so to speak. And the big kids stop, I assume, go around here and come back.
Well, it's kind of seeing this as a transition space between two different kinds of skating, like the pool skating and then more like the street trick. You can do like street tricks skating, like it'll be more like rails and steps, that kind of like slower speed.
Okay, so not necessarily little kids as opposed to big kids.
Yeah, it's like little kids just so in the sense that like this is all very high speed and a little more dangerous, I guess, but it still has like the slopes they can work on, but like the big kids would go here to work on street skating anyway. It's just not as high speed as this area, I guess.
Well, fine. Another way of doing it, however, would have been not to do that here, but to do that someplace else, like back there or even inside, and let this thing become much more of a counterbalance to the other side, so that I would come out of this tubing around, and then I would assume back into the building and around. So if that's a possibility, that it's more of a continuous surface, if I got it right. Is it right that I could, in theory, go from here through the building and come out? Yeah. So the notion of almost this figure 8 kind of notion going through the building might be another way of doing it, which means that this is not here. A comment or two that I think is not good. These guys look like leftover places, these seats and this wall. Not nearly as integrated into the landscape, say, as what you're doing in here, or even there, which is very powerful. The mountain, or the climbing wall there, this one, is very strong. It could be higher, it seems to me.
I'm going to have I don't know what happened to it. I used to have a screen.
Oh, that's right. There's a screen up there. Okay, terrific. Okay, so then maybe if there's a screen there, we don't have it higher. But I was going to suggest it could be narrower and a little higher and still do that, because it's taking up quite a bit of the land here.
Narrower this way?
Yeah, narrower that way, vertically. I don't know how you justify my concern yet. Oh, I do know how you do it. Of wanting to make the connection between the ordinary and the extraordinary. This face is not necessarily climbing. It's this face. So therefore, this could be some kind of a wall that's coming in from the ordinary of this. And then, wow, all of a sudden, in fact, yeah, I turned the corner. In fact, this could go even a little bit farther, making this world just a little bit more hidden than what you got. And there, because I don't use that face. Now, that's one thing. The second thing is that this is if I'm not mistaken, is an inside climbing wall. It all of a sudden now looks very token and very small in relationship to the space. It seems like it could have been much larger, or even be more commanding in size for the space that you have inside, assuming that it works for the climbers. So it could become much more of an architectural issue, as this one is, by the way, outside. This got done first, I think, or maybe not, but it feels like it didn't get done in relationship to the magnitude of that space.
It actually got done first, but it was because, well, I figured like I had this all worked out, and then the height of this, I figured I knew the approximate height I'd want it to be, but then knowing the height that I wanted this room to be, I just made.
I see. Well, based on what I'm seeing here and back here, to me, I think the building could be up in here somewhere.
Okay.
Therefore, that could be higher, and therefore it could be much more of a physical feature of the building. Now, I want to congratulate you on something which I think is just incredible. You have chosen a rectangular base system, which I think is just beautiful, because it's playing against the angularity of the other. And you do not have to, which is what you're starting to struggle with, think about enclosure related to this. They can be, enclosure walls can be separate from the structure. So, and these guys, just as you've done here, can be poking through at different places. So you've got an ordering device here, several ordering devices. One off of this, which is fractional. Another one is angular, related to another set of angles. This one, which is rectangular. And they're starting to work with each, and then of course this one down here, which is just another world. They're starting to work with each other. And I think that's brilliant. I think now you, having done that, you are now free to play, if I could say so, with how the facades of this is going to be. But never think that you have to connect two columns. They can be all curtain walls, basically. And by doing so, you are apt to get back to, you will get back to some of the original notions that you had. And by the way, back to your old projects too. I think it's very good. I think it's very powerful. Now the question is, what is the material of these roofs?
I'm not sure. I was thinking, because I do want it to be, to let as much light in as possible, a mixture of some kind of reflective like metal with transparent materials. I was thinking like if I were going to have different layers, like if I had the back one lower than the top one, then maybe this would be solid, but then a face of this would be clear to let the light in, that kind of thing.
Or there could be a metal frame, almost like a honeycomb frame, that reflects light and then has translucent material over it. And it's like a sandwich almost, so that these are, here they're very thin, the roofs. They could have more dimension to them without being solid looking, hanging over this, and light coming through them. So they could have a dimension like that, as an example, which might be a nice complement to what's going on the ground. And then, of course, they're held up by the columns. So the columns, by the way, the columns are about the right size. So the columns are then connecting to this in some way on the grid of the framework of the roof, which is metal. You're on your way. So it's good.
Yeah, any suggestions as to like how the overall form of the outside should be? Like having, like I think I do want to make this like higher here. So maybe this like air would be higher and then this lower, so you can have light get into the higher place. But then like.
Yes, I do. I would be careful that it does not become so literal in the sense that it's 1, 2, 3 as I go down. In fact, I could imagine that maybe this one is higher, even though it's over. This is over the highest space, so that, and then it goes down. Otherwise, you may end up with something that is too central, with things radiating around it. And I don't think that's the intention of what you want to do. I think you have something in mind that's a little bit more freer than
Do you think it'd be a problem if this area was higher? There'd be a problem with getting light in this?
No, because in fact I was thinking if it was higher, light could come through that and down into.
True, yeah. Okay.
So I don't think it would be wrong. I mean, I guess this one was supposed to be here. I don't know what you had, but it could be like that. How many of them? I don't know. Is there 3, 4, 5? That's up to you. But this is the fun part. You get to play. Ooh, this is the part that you get to play with how these forms are on top. The thing that, again, that's interesting is that structurally and architecturally, there's an ordering framework that's holding all this together with these guys, as opposed to, which you could have done, which I think would have been a mistake, is that the columns would have tried to follow the forms of the. That's a disaster, or it could be. You would never get that one right.